All right. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. How is everybody doing out there? I'm going to give people time to just come on in. Let's talk a little bit today. And we're still on hydration. And for those of you out there who caught me yesterday, I feel like I did you a disservice yesterday. I was rushing. For those powerful women out there who are managing their households and managing their businesses and their careers and trying to get everybody out the door in the morning. Well, that's what was happening to me yesterday morning. My son was moving late. I was late. I feel like I was rushing through this yesterday, and I definitely don't want to do this this morning. So I'm going to kind of reiterate some of the things that I was saying, slow it down a little bit this morning, and just talk to you because this is really important. And I don't want to rush through this. I feel like we rush through life and we rush through the things that we need to do for our health and wellness, and then we end up potentially having some type of illness because we're not doing the things that we should on a regular basis. So I definitely don't want to rush it because I don't want you to rush through your life and not get it so that you can really take care of yourself. So I was reading an article and we're talking about hydration. And I was reading an article and it said, if you feel like you're thirsty, you are most likely already dehydrated. I want you to chew on that for a minute because how many times have you felt like you're thirsty? How many times do you feel like you need something to drink? Your throat is dry, your mouth feels really dry. You might wake up, especially if it's winter time in your area right now and you have your heat on in your house, you might wake up and you feel dry because that's what the heater does. It kind of sucks some of the moisture out of the air. So how many times do you wake up feeling like you're thirsty? And just to understand, when you feel like you're thirsty, you may already be dehydrated. That is powerful when you think about it because being dehydrated slows your organs down. It doesn't allow your organs to properly function. So if you think about three of the major organs that you need to function, good morning, cuz, good morning. Think about the organs that you need to function. Just think about your heart, your kidneys and your liver. Why make them work overtime? To keep your body functioning properly because listen, your body will adjust and it will crank it up a notch in order to take care of you. Good morning, Denny. Good morning. So it will crank it up a notch in order to take care of you, but why make your organs work overtime in order for your body to function? And at that point you're not functioning properly, you're just functioning. But why make your organs do that when you can simply hydrate your body? So for those of you who are just joining, I mentioned a statement that I read as I was reading an article. It said, if you feel like you're thirsty, you are most likely already dehydrated. And I just thought that that was so powerful to mention because, just think about it, everybody out there, as I mentioned, think about how many times you felt thirsty. I know I have. Actually, and I was just saying, if you're in areas where it's wintertime and your heat is sucking out the moisture from your house, right? You wake up normally feeling thirsty. So at those times, you want to make sure that you're getting in more water before you go to bed, or even keeping a bottle of water by your bedside so that if you do wake up in your mouth and you feel a little dry, to just take a sip of water, you know. But I just really thought that was super powerful because our organs start to shut down when we are at a loss for hydration. And we don't need that. Like I mentioned, we don't need our organs to work overtime in order to help our bodies function properly. We want them to be full. We want to continue to replenish so that they can function at the level that they're supposed to keep us healthy, as opposed to, going into fire drill mode in order to keep us moving, right? To keep our body moving. So, as I mentioned yesterday, I was rushing, and I want to just kind of reiterate some of the things that I was saying yesterday without having to rush through it because I was rushing my household yesterday morning. So, if you think about what I just said about if you're thirsty, you may already be dehydrated. So, in terms of getting in enough water, the rule of thumb is 4 ounces of water per hour, or it is per day half of your body weight in fluid ounces. So, I am 140 pounds, which means I should get about 5 of these bottles. This is 16.9 fluid ounces. So I need about 5 of those bottles per day in order for me to keep my body hydrated. So take that rule of thumb, take your body weight, and do half of that. And what I always do, I had a client who she loved Pepsi, but she wanted to start drinking more water. So I said to her, so if you can do this either at home or even when you're on the go, take a bag with you. I want you to like just count during the day how many bottles you drink and not just count in your head because we're busy. We're busy people, right? Which is why I'm on here because we're so busy and I want to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves. But what I told her to do is at that time she was working from home and she would just drink Pepsi naturally, just can after can of Pepsi or bottle after bottle. So what I said to her was, and she said, I may get a bottle of water, maybe 2 in per day, and that's not enough. And if you're drinking things like Pepsi, where there's a lot of sugar and other things in those drinks, you're depleting yourself of dehydration, and you need even more water if you're drinking those things. But what I told her was, I said, take your Pepsi bottles, line those up on the counter because she was working from home, and take your water bottles that you drink throughout the day and line those up on the counter. And I want you to see how much Pepsi you're getting in and how many water bottles you're getting in. Now, her Pepsi bottles at the time that we started way outnumbered her water bottles. She may have gotten, a full bottle, or sometimes she said she was drinking the little bottles, half of the 16.9, right? She was drinking the little bottles, and her Pepsi highly surpassed. And it was a reality call for her because she saw all of those Pepsi bottles lined up versus the water and realized that she was putting her body in a state of dehydration, amongst getting other things that were unhealthy for her. So if you can do that, if you are, my powerful leaders out there, if you are working from home, do it at home, line them up on the counter, see how much water you're getting. If you are on the go and you're working outside of your house, don't be afraid to take a bag with you. Take your water bottles with you. Buy the spring water at the store. Carry your water bottles with you and see how many you get throughout the day. Save the empty water bottles to see how many you get throughout the day. Now, you don't have to do this forever, but in order to be mindful of what you're actually consuming, we need it to be visible. It's so much more effective if you can see it, because then you can say, all right, I need to make the changes. I want to make the changes. Or I didn't even realize that I wasn't getting in enough water, right? Because sometimes we don't. We're moving throughout the day. And like I said, our body kicks in. It will kick in. It learns how to adapt to whatever we do. This beautiful, intricate system that God has built for us will adapt. So if it's adapting, you're thinking that you're functioning properly all the time. And that's not always the case. So if you can start to say, all right, let me just see what I'm doing here and line those bottles up, I guarantee you, you may not get in enough water, right? Because I think water is something that we usually take for granted. And if you don't, kudos to you. That's amazing, because then you're getting in enough water. But it's sometimes what we take for granted and we don't normally get enough in. So line those bottles up, take them with you in a bag, throw the empty bottles in a bag, even in your car, check them at the end of the day. And I don't want you flooding your body with water. I want you to get it in at the interim, like intermittent periods, right? So that's why I said 4 ounces per hour, because that's the norm, right? Because you can do something like drown your organs, and you don't want to do that. You don't want to just try to consume all of the water at one time because you didn't get enough in. It's gradual throughout the day. You progressively drink your water throughout the day so that your body can take it all in naturally the way it's supposed to function properly. So I want to go back just a little bit over hydration while you're exercising, because you know that I love to exercise and I love to help my women leaders exercise out there, but we need to also stay hydrated while we're doing that. So I didn't want to do you a disservice from yesterday. So I want to just talk about some of the rules there when it comes to hydrating and exercising. As I mentioned, you want to make sure, I mentioned this yesterday, but want to go over these again because I was rushing through it. You want to make sure that you hydrate yourself before your exercise and get in one bottle, just one of these bottles, before you actually go out to exercise, so that you're giving your body enough hydration to get started, right? Because when you're starting to exercise, that also is something that's going to make your organs kick it up a notch, particularly your heart, right? So you want to make sure that you're hydrated before you even get started. And then you want to make sure that you keep a bottle by you as you are exercising so that you can take your sips in between reps. And when it comes to that, you don't have to worry about the 4 ounces per hour. They say 4 ounces every 15 minutes. But I say if you take a sip between your sets after your full repetition. So if you're doing repetitions and say you're doing 4 sets of an exercise and your repetitions are 12 repetitions. After that first 12, take a sip. Go back, do your next 12, take a sip. So you'll make sure that you're getting in that 4 ounces. And your body will tell you too, if you feel a little more thirsty, then you might take 2 sips in between your sets. So, make sure that you're listening to your body, but you want to make sure that you're replenishing and replacing the water as you're sweating it out. You want to make sure that you're replacing the water. And something interesting about when you're exercising and sweating, if you're not sweating as much, and if you feel like you're doing rigorous exercise and there's not a lot of sweat coming out, you are most likely dehydrated, because your body knows how to release the water, to release toxicity as you are exercising. Exercising is a great way to help your body release toxicity, and that happens through your sweat. If you're not sweating enough, you are most likely dehydrated as well. So something to mention, something to pay attention to. That's why you have to fill up before you start to exercise and replenish as you are exercising. So make sure you're using your body as a guide. Pay attention to how much you're sweating, so that you can pay attention to how you need to replenish your body. And this will gradually grow and work for you more over time as you're exercising, because you're going to pay attention to it a lot more as you're sweating. So I wanted to give you that key tip as well, to use that as a guide for yourself. And you'll know at the end of your workout, if you have to urinate and you're using the restroom, and look at the color of your urine to see whether or not you are a little dehydrated or if you've gotten enough. If your urine is lighter, then that means you're getting the amount of water that you need to. If it's darker, then that means you're erring on the side of dehydration, and you want to make sure that you start to replenish your body with water. So I just wanted to come on and reiterate that for everybody out there today. But if you don't drink enough water, here's what happens. And this is what we don't want to do, because then this is what I mentioned in terms of having your body have to crank it up. Our bodies are like machines. You can compare your body to like a car. We take our car and we get oil changes and tune-ups, right, for our car. Well, your body is the same way. It's an intricate machine, and giving it water and other things that we're going to be talking about in the mornings is what gives us our tune-up. So you want to make sure that you are giving it the oil that it needs, right, which is our water, in order for it to function properly. So when we're not getting enough, we affect our body temperature, right? And our body temperature rates may rise, and we don't want that. We want to keep our body temperatures at the levels that it needs to be. So keep it cooled down. That temperature is usually around 98 degrees. So we want to keep our body temperature, where it needs to be. We're usually feeling a lot more fatigue when we don't get in enough water. We may not even be able to think clearly. We may have brain fog when we're not getting in enough water. As I mentioned before, which is the big one, right? Our body functions start to slow down. We also don't digest properly. And when you think about what your body needs. It needs to release toxicity. So when you're getting in enough water, you're allowing your body to be able to do that. And if you are a person who exercises a lot and you're, or in some type of sport, you want to make sure that you are increasing your levels of water because your body's performing at a different rate than people who may not exercise or who are getting in, just minimal amounts of exercise. If you're kicking it up and you're doing a lot of performance sports and athletics, you need more water than the average person. So if you use that rule of thumb, 4 ounces every 15 minutes, you should be able to replenish your body in that manner. And I would say to all of you out there, a good tool to have is a water jug. Now, I don't use that because I do work from home, so I'm measuring by water bottles. However, if you are on the go, Amazon is a wonderful place to go to. You can get those water jugs that give you the amount of water on the side so that you can measure. And if you fill that jug up too, so if you use the rule of thumb per day of half your body weight, as I mentioned, I'm 140 pounds. If I use half of my body weight, I should be getting in 70 fluid ounces of water per day. You can take that jug, fill it up to the 70 using, me as an example, right? You can fill that water jug up to the 70 fluid ounces and just continue to sip on that throughout the day. So that's even better for those who are on the go, because then you know that you have the amount of water that you need for the day in that jug. You take it with you. You make sure by the end of the day, you are done with that water and you have gotten in all of the water that you need for your body to function in the manner that it should. So I just wanted to continue to talk about the water. It's so important, but I want to leave you with that statement that I mentioned in the beginning. Hey, Allegra, I want to leave you with that statement that I mentioned in the beginning from the article that I read. If you feel like you are thirsty, you are most likely already dehydrated. So when you think about that statement, that is so powerful. When you think about that statement, you're feeling like you're thirsty. I want you to make sure that you're replenishing. But if you do the things that I gave you today, you will continue to make sure that your body has the hydration that it needs in order for it to continue to function the way that it needs to. And like I said, don't make your heart, your kidneys, your liver, don't make them crank it up a notch, because, God gave us this body and it will definitely adapt. But we don't want to do that, right? We want to replenish. We want to restore our bodies. We want to give it what it needs so that it can operate in the manner that God has given us for it to do. So I love you all out there. I thank you for joining. Join me again tomorrow morning. I will be here giving you these tips because we are out here to live healthy. To all my leaders out here, my women leaders in particular, I love you, men, but to my women leaders in particular, I know that you are out here doing so much, running your households, you are running your businesses, or you are just that baddie in your career, but you need to also make sure that you are taking care of yourself. So I will see you all again tomorrow morning. Love you and appreciate you. And I'm out this morning. Take care.